the point is the touch point. We're not doing it. So next it was Easter. Then it's Mother's Day. Stavros actually owns a flower farm. So I drop off hundreds of chrysanthemums to all of my mums on my database every Mother's Day. Father's Day we've just had, so I did coffee and cake at the local pizza restaurant for them. So it's about giving.
You're listening to Elevate, the official podcast of Elite Agent for real estate industry sales professionals, property managers and leaders. We are proud to present Courageous Conversations, a podcast series focusing on the tough decisions people have made to put themselves on a pathway to success. This episode is brought to you by Connect Now, who makes the business of moving easier for both you and your clients. For more information, visit connectnow.com.au. Please welcome your host, Leanne Pilkington.
Hey everyone, Leanne Pilkington with you with the latest edition of Courageous Conversations. And with me I have the gorgeous Tanja Neven-Jones from Melbourne. Hello, how are you, Tanja?
Hello, how are you? All the way from rainy Melbourne, yes.
Yes, exactly. It's all right. Rainy Melbourne, rainy Sydney, it's all the same.
It is all going on, yeah.
Now, you have been either the number one or two agent at O'Brien's down in Victoria for the last, 7 years?
9 years, actually.
9 years.
So, yes, we have two fabulous women, myself and Michelle, that have absolutely dominated the space down here. And it's just, it's absolutely brilliant. We've got a ladies' health day on Friday. They've asked me to MC that event. And I've written the introduction this morning, and it was really just focusing on how O'Brien do support women in real estate, whether it's in the traditional space of property management, administration, or being a core part of our corporate team. But what we do very, very well is support senior women in sales roles, as well as directors and business owners as well. And I'm super proud to be part of that.
Yeah, so you should be. That's fantastic. And so how do O'Brien's go about supporting, not that this is an ad for O'Brien's, but,
No.
We might as well talk about what you actually do.
Yeah, and look, I've been part of other organisations as well, and the same thing. If you want to be a corporate director, I think our industry now is allowing that and encouraging that. In fact, every company I've worked for, which has only been two in my 20-year career, have both been very supportive of women in real estate. Yeah. One of the things I just mentioned is we have a ladies' health brunch coming up on Friday, where we all get together. We talk about the challenges that we're facing in today's market. We have two guest speakers. So we have Jackie Felgate speaking, and it's going to be a really lovely morning where we can get together, connect with our other offices. We're over 33 offices now.
Yeah, that's a lot of offices, yeah.
It is. And, sometimes we just don't get to listen or hear or say hello to the other women in other offices on the other side.
The thing is, because I've got a networking group called Real Women in Real Estate, and we've actually got an event next Thursday night. And the thing is that it's not about excluding blokes at all, but the reality is that we communicate and connect differently when there's only women in the room. And I'm sure that men are the same, right? It's a different conversation when it's just with them. And we all need to do that from time to time.
Yeah, I think so too. And, we had our what we call the Your Say conference last week. And one of the topics that came up was, should we now combine it and make it just a health brunch where the men come along as well? And there were a couple of people that went, you know what, we actually like our space. We like to be able to talk about girl stuff and challenges that women and particularly mothers have in this industry, because it does come down to time management. We have different challenges from the men, and it's not, as you said, it's not about excluding them. It's just having a safe space where we can actually talk about that.
That's the thing, right? That psychological safety to have those conversations without fear of judgment. And, women are hard enough judging each other, right?
Yeah.
Haven't been afraid that they're going to be judged by the blokes as well.
Yeah. No, so that's it's a really great company. And as I said, our awards were not so long ago, and in our top 10, the majority of them were women.
That's great.
And it's just great to see. Michelle Stevens, our number one agent, and she has been the number one agent for, at least 7 years in our company. She picked me at the post a long time ago, runs a massive team of 7 people. Yeah. She's transacting 250 properties properties a year. And that is absolutely outstanding volume from a young lady who's only just turned 31 years old.
Wow.
So, yeah, amazing. And it's great to see some up-and-coming women within our group as well. I love seeing our young ones challenging themselves and actually saying, I want to be top 10 at a network where they've got, almost, and the challenge is, we're charging towards 50 offices very quickly, and to be able to make top 10 in our group is an outstanding effort. And these are the goals that these girls are, they're setting for themselves in the sales space, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as a top performer, it's not always smooth sailing, right? You've had some challenges in your career over how long have you been in real estate?
18 years. So 2003 is when I started. 19 years. 2003 is when I started. And I guess a bit of a brief history is I started in real estate, fell pregnant very quickly into my real estate career, and then had to, say, do I want to stay in this space, or perhaps, rely on my husband to be the breadwinner? Do I come back part-time? And you know what? I really do have a lot of mother's guilt, because the course I chose was my career. I had great support from my mum and dad, from my husband, and using the childcare system as well, managed to come up with a routine that sorted our family so that I could get back in. And I am the major breadwinner in our family. That is a challenge in itself. I think it's a challenge that not a lot of women talk about. The fact that, how do we cope in our relationships with that? But again, I'm going off topic here.
No, but it's true, and it's a relevant conversation, because I'm the same, right? Yeah.
That's great. And look, we can touch on it a little bit later on, because I think it's really important to acknowledge it and to actually, because I'm sure there's other women like us that sometimes face the challenge of, how do we have a relationship and manage a relationship with our partner when sometimes, I do like to wear the pants a bit, and I do like to, I do like to make those decisions and, book the holidays and do things like that, which again, traditionally is a male space to do that. Yeah, so, right. I certainly am the male polarity in our relationship. Mind you, my husband is 6'5" and built like an absolute brick shit house with tattoos all over him. So he certainly looks like the one that does, but, behind the scenes. Anyway,
so you fell pregnant really early in your real estate career. You decided to come back to work. How did that go?
In sales. So I came back to work in full-time sales. So I was that agent pushing the baby around, doing the door knocks and the letterbox drops, and everybody knew who I was, and, very quickly established a reputation as an incredibly hard worker with exceptional time management skills. I had no choice. I had to. And it worked really, really well for me. I then progressed from being a top sales consultant within that organisation to being a sales manager, then a general manager, then a partner in a small satellite office, and then eventually a 40% shareholder in a 4-office network. So life was incredibly good for me. Everything was going well. Lovely luxury cars and international holidays, my child in a private school, Tier 1 private school in Melbourne. And then everything 10 years into my real estate career went pear-shaped, and I'm talking pear-shaped.
What happened?
It was diabolical, in fact. I almost lost my family home. I almost lost my investment property, which my parents rented off me down in Geelong. I had quite literally turned to the bottle as a self-medicating, vice to get me through days and nights and stress and challenges, and having to have conversations with my staff that, there were going to be cutbacks, there were going to be, I might lose the business, and what does that look like for everyone?
What happened? Was that during the GFC?
No, so it was after that. We'd over-leveraged on purchasing rent rolls.
Right.
We had a business partnership that it just went pear-shaped. There was a lot of blame happening. Again, I have to take responsibility for my, contribution to not making this work. It was really terrible. terrible because the three business partners, which was myself and two other fellows, were really good friends, family, in fact. We used to spend Christmas together, and these are the challenges of business partnerships, I guess, is we're all mates and everything is wonderful and, everything will be okay attitude. But it just didn't end up that way. And it really got quite nasty.
Financial challenges can do that to people, though. When putting people under financial pressure is very tough.
Yeah, financial pressure. But then there was, the pressures is we all had our lane into what our tasks were as shareholders and business owners. Mine was people, recruitment and retention. I was very good at that. Running a sales team was my lane, and I loved that part of what I did as a business owner. Then we had a number one sales consultant, and his lane was, I don't want any decision when it comes to this business. I just want to list and sell real estate because that's what I do well. And then our other business partner was, overseeing everything because I was a relatively new business owner. I had no idea, in fact, what I was doing or what I was looking at. I just knew people. That's what I'm good at. And then when it all went pear-shaped, and I won't go into details because that's not fair on the other two business owners here. Yep. Everyone needs an opportunity to say their side of the story. And I'm lucky that I get a platform to share the challenge, what happened, and, obviously the journey, which wasn't a great one. But, we lost everything. And the asset, what was left of the asset, had to be sold. Again, that was another challenge to do that amicably, which it didn't happen amicably. And 10 years into my real estate career, I was literally, the doors were locked on me. I had to start from square one as a sales consultant in an area that I wasn't used to, and I had to start from scratch. Not only did I have to start from scratch because of the drinking and the alcoholism, I actually lost my license for drink driving. So try being a sales consultant without a license. It was incredibly difficult. I lost my license for a very long time. In fact, I lost it for 18 months.
Wow.
So, yeah, I know. And I guess this is where the courageous conversation comes in, because it's awfully embarrassing to talk about that. It's not easy to be able to. I was walking to some listing presentations. I was walking to open for inspections. The office that I'd started in 10 years into it was actually OBrien, and it was in 2013 that I started here with no driver's license. I was very, very lucky that the business owner here, Stavros, essentially lent me a PA so I could get from A to B.
He's a very good man, that Stavros, isn't he?
Yeah, he's lovely. And look, all the corporate directors, all our business owners, our whole team are just absolutely so supportive.
So how did that make you feel, going from what was probably the worst, if not the worst, one of the worst times of your life, to have someone actually show you that kind of faith and that kind of support?
Well, it was all three of the corporate directors, in fact. So Stavros gave me a job and essentially gave me a PA to help me get from A to B. The biggest challenge I had was when I joined the network was I had this delightful little 8-year-old son that was in a beautiful private school. And I literally had to sit him down one day and say, I have to take you away from your friends, buddy. I can't afford it. I can't afford it. And it was Darren Hutchins, one of the other corporate directors, that said to me, Tanya, if that's your biggest problem, well, then we'll fix it. We're going to pay those school fees until you get up on your feet. So, and that was, again, just took this massive weight off my shoulders that I didn't have to worry about Ethan. That was my biggest concern, was that child having to, he was the direct result of my bad decisions, and my business loss was the fact that, he had to leave his friends. So having that comfort from our corporate directors that I didn't have to worry about that.
Did the directors know you? Or
So Stavros did, because he was a business owner of the previous brand that I was with. And that's one of the reasons why I chose this office, was I didn't have to explain who I was. Yeah. They knew who I was and that I was, my office down in Frankston was the number one office for our franchise group in Victoria 3 years in a row. Yeah. I had 20 sales consultants that worked for me. Yeah. There were 1,700 properties under management. So that office was a big deal. And we lost everything.
It's hard to believe, right?
Yeah.
Particularly given it wasn't a GFC situation. It was just
over leveraging.
Yeah. Over leveraging and
Yeah. It was, I think we just got a bit too big for our boots, and our borrowing with Macquarie was kind of a bit, what have we done? We were losing more because we'd gone aggressive on purchasing rent rolls, and the integration into the existing rent roll we didn't have the support staff.
Yep.
We were taking on the property managers that came with the properties, but these new property managers are coming into our business not knowing the team, not knowing the systems, not knowing, here's a brand new desk, hey, keep all the people.
Just because they've been doing a good job with the previous brand doesn't mean they're going to integrate easily into your business. Yeah.
And they didn't, and either did the landlords. So next thing you know, we were losing properties hand over fist, and all of a sudden the asset was worth less than the debt.
Yeah, I can see how it can happen. It's a lesson.
Yeah. And one that, again, it's just we all are now very, very happy. It's taken a decade for us to find, I guess, peace and closure from that time of my life. I really, there's things I regret saying and doing and feeling. And as I said, it was very much a grief process. I remember starting at OBrien and really grieving the previous brand that I loved so much.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate and very lucky that I'm still friends and incredibly good friends from the previous brand, and I do regularly keep in contact. In fact, I've done some training and some sessions like this with them because that mutual respect is still there, and I'm very proud to one of the things that, even though life and my career has been an incredibly difficult one, the one thing that I've always said to my team and to my colleagues and even to my competitors is I'll never burn a bridge.
No.
I'll always have respect for you. I'll always have time for you. If anyone ever rings me wanting a sales result, I'm not one of those ones that go, oh, sorry, I can't tell you. I'll actually have a conversation with you around it and how we achieved it and what the challenges were, and why we achieved that result, whether it was a good or a bad one. Always open to communication with my peers and with my competitors as well. I just had a 50th birthday recently, and I invited, I think there was about a dozen people from other brands that were there.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, it was great.
And so how did you start again?
Okay, that's a really good question, one that I get asked quite often. Where I'd come from, they used to do a lot of cold prospecting. And in fact, we were trained to do the old-fashioned door knocking, your 10, 10, 20s, cold calling the street to let them know of a result. All of that stuff that we do. But very quickly, again, I'm Josh Fegan trained, and Josh was all about, Tanya, you're doing the wrong thing. You're looking in the wrong spots. The data that you need already sits inside your office, and that's your past clients. It's people that have purchased homes from you since your office has been in existence. There are obviously people that have moved on from the office. Ask Stavros for that data. Any landlords, have they had an up-to-date market appraisal on their asset, or more importantly, their principal place of residence as well? People forget to ask that question. Do you need that asset appraised as well? So any past appraisals that had been done in the office, I got that data. Any past buyers we still work a farm area, so any data from the farm area that hadn't been serviced, that's what I took. I literally made one phone call to every one of them, and that phone call was, hey, it's Tanya from OBrien Real Estate. You purchased a home off us 5 years ago. Just wondering if you're available at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock tomorrow so I can come over and tell you what the asset's worth now. And, it was just a very simple phone call. And most people said, yeah, why not? I'm not selling, but you're more than welcome to come over, which is what I did. If they did say no, what I'd say is, well, that's okay. I just want to do a data check. Are you still steve.smith@hotmail.com? Yeah, I am. Okay, well, I'm going to do a desktop appraisal for you. I'm going to flick it through to that email address. What I then did was printed off the CMA, found it, put it in a little OBrien show bag with a small gift, plus, whatever paraphernalia or promotion we were doing for that month, along with a stock list, dropped it on their front doorstep, literally knocked on the door and said, hey, here's a hard copy. Do you mind if I give you a call tomorrow to see if you have any questions? So that touch point was a game changer for me. I started OBrien in September. in December, coming up to Christmas, I wanted to buy all of those appraisals and touch points and people that I'd collected and started building relationships with. I wanted to buy them a Christmas gift. So what I did was I just bought them a little $2 cookie tin from Woolies and dropped it off again, door knocked it, dropped it off on their front doorstep and said, Merry Christmas from me. Thank you again for allowing me to come out to your home and let you know what it's worth. And if you are looking to make a real estate decision in the next 12 months, please, let me know. The response I had from that small gesture and that $2 cookie tin gained me 2 listings. So I thought, geez, if people love, contact and gifts and touch points so much, when's the next thing I can do? So I did Valentine's Day. I sent out a lovely little Valentine's Day card that I made myself, and I put a voucher in there for a $15 dessert at one of the local restaurants. Then, and that was great because a lot of people, I actually had 3 people say to me, hey, thanks for the card, really nice gesture, but Josh and I have broken up. I'm like, oh, sorry about that. You don't need to sell, do you? And yeah, lo and behold, they actually did. So, again, it's the touch point. The point is the touch point. We're not doing it. So next it was Easter. Then it's Mother's Day. Stavros actually owns a flower farm. So I drop off hundreds of chrysanthemums to all of my mums on my database every Mother's Day. Father's Day we've just had. So I did coffee and cake at the local pizza restaurant for them. So it's about giving.
If I'm sitting there as an agent watching this, I'm thinking it seems like it's adding up to a lot of money.
No, not at all. So with the Father's Day, which is a voucher for coffee and cake, and with Valentine's Day, which is a voucher for a dessert, the trick is you've got to put a deadline on it. Yes. So with Valentine's Day, for example, they get the card, they get the voucher, then in the fine print down the bottom, it says must be used in the month of February. By the time they get it, they've got 2 weeks to do it. Yeah. So it kind of keeps your costs down by not leaving it open-ended. What I do as well is I go and see the restaurant. Most of the time they're local. Well, they are local, so they know who I am and I have a relationship with them. And I just say, look, here's $500. If that $500 is used up, give me a call and I'll come and give you another couple of $100. Most of the time they're ringing me saying, hey, look, I've got $100 left to give back to you. So the take-up isn't great, but the actual touch point and the response I get from them opening up a card in the post is outstanding. Outstanding. And people talk about it. They really talk about it. If they do go in and have their coffee and cake or their dessert, they're taking photos and tagging me. They're sending me photos saying, here's us having, lunch or dinner, whatever. It really is wonderful. Our next thing that we're doing at the moment is we've got little bags full of lollies for Halloween. So any of my clients that have got kids between the age of 4 and 14 will be delivered a little Halloween bucket with some lollies in it. So again, another touch point coming in the middle of spring.
And do you deliver that yourself?
Yeah, my team and I.
And so that's the point, right?
It's just, it's just touch points, and it's quirky little touch points that might not work for everybody. Yeah. I really can't see the blokes getting up and sending out Valentine's Day cards. That's a bit creepy. But hey, here's a Valentine's Day card. How's your missus going? No, it's more about the touch point and the client care program that we have developed and is quite successful. And again, when somebody does need to sell, we're always top of mind because we're the ones that are delivering the gifts and sending out cards. And on top of that, I still do letterbox drops. My area that I prospect gets 1,000 letterbox drops every week. That's done by my 14-year-old boys that I pay $50 a week to. But again, another touch point. Plus I have billboards around the area and things like that. And believe me, it's not expensive. You do what you can afford. As I said, I started with a $2 cookie tin and I bought 100 of them. Those first 2 listings that I got from the Christmas gift cost me $200.
And I think the message really is the consistency of those touch
Yeah.
points throughout the year. So it's not
Yeah.
doing one or two and going, oh, this doesn't work, I'm not doing this again. You've got to have that annual plan. Do you and your team get together and
Absolutely. That annual plan, we've been implementing now for, 7, 8, 9 years. So 9 years. And that goes to every single person that I've sold a home to in this area, my core area. Now, not everybody gets there, and we have a touch point every month. Where if it's not an event like a Halloween or a Father's Day or a Mother's Day or Christmas, Easter, we'll then do a newsletter, a tax time drop. There's something that is constantly in their face. Now, not everyone gets something 12 months of the year because not everyone's a mum, not everyone's a dad, not everyone's a couple, not everyone has kids. But we do try to do something so that they're at least getting six touch points per year. On top of that, they'll get a just listed, just sold for any relevant sale in their street. Plus, they'll get an invitation if there's an open for inspection in their street, and also an auction invitation. And again, it's only relevant listings. So we try not to get too in their face, but we also want to make sure that we're delivering relevant information consistently. And that's the word you said, consistent. And, we need to do that.
Yeah.
That's where agents forget. As you said, I've done it twice and it didn't work. Well, yeah, you're not delivering the relevant information.
I saw a quote, Instagram's wonderful for quotes. And I saw one the other day saying, you don't lack talent, you lack consistency. And I thought that's, it's so true for our industry, right?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
really good.
I'm just interested in understanding how you dealt with the mental side of getting back and starting all over again. Because you were doing really well, right? You were doing really well, and then all of a sudden everything's gone and you're struggling.
Oh, yeah, it was really hard.
How did you actually cope with that? Are you one to reach out to people and talk, or are you one to go like, I'm not telling anybody about this until I'm through it?
I'm probably more of the latter. And I hate to say that, but I think most women are. Showing vulnerability, especially when you're in your darkest time, is incredibly hard. And that's why, I mentioned the alcoholism, because for me, it was just open up a bottle of wine and drown your sorrow.
Yes.
It's kind of embarrassing having to rehash the story. I did, in fact, in the end, I did seek professional help. So I went to see a local counsellor here in Chelsea. She was a lovely lady that really did give me some tools to be able to cope in my darkest hour. The tools she gave me were pretty much just based around breathing, in all honesty.
Amazing the difference it makes, right?
Yeah. So it was just breathing and taking oh God, the hair on my arms is actually standing up because it just brings you back to that time. It was just a lot of breathing, shut the door, turn the phone off, ignore the outside world, concentrate on breathing, and focus on what your goals are. When I actually have a quote that I do share when I speak, and that was that I didn't want my past to be bigger than my future.
Yeah.
And that was very much when I heard that sentence, that just went, right. Everything now is based on not allowing my very big and successful past to be a handbrake to what I can possibly achieve in the future.
You probably can't read that, but that's a Post-it note that I've got on my computer that says it's not about what you have done, it's about what you do next.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect. That's really what, in my darkest hour, I heard that quote, and I do believe it came from Josh Fegan.
Yeah.
And I went, okay, well, that's that's resonated with me, and everything that I concentrate on now has to be focused around that very sentence. I'd had an incredibly big past, and I plan to have an incredibly big future. And you know what? Even now, that was 10 years ago. 10 years into the OBrien journey, and again, I've just hit a really big milestone I've just turned 50. And, a really big conversation I'm having with myself now is, what does the next 10 years look like? I'm not getting any younger.
Hey, I'm about to turn 60. So wow. I hear you. I absolutely hear you. It's a really interesting conversation. So what does the next 10 years look like?
That's what I'm trying to figure out and plan at the moment. I know, it'll be in real estate in the biggest and loudest and best capacity that I can give. One of the things I said at ARAC is, one of my what is next for me is I do want to be, and I know it sounds a bit wanky, but I love this sentence, a custodian of the future generation of real estate agents. I love that. I love young people. I love young women in real estate, but I also love the young men that are giving this industry and this career a crack, because it is so exciting. There is no ceiling to what you can achieve in real estate, but don't be a wanker about it. If you're going to take, well, then you've got to give. And that's what I want to do. Is the last 10 years I've had a great career. I have been either runner-up or number one within the group. But what I do try to do within the group is mentor mentor anyone, whether it's a young person or a new to real estate or somebody that's been in real estate for 10 years but is just struggling to make that next step. I give my time, I give my energy, I give, everything I possibly can to help lift and raise the bar within the industry that I do love so much.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing. Well, that is the fastest half an hour I think I've ever had.
Oh, we've been talking for half an hour.
We've been talking for half an hour, believe it or not.
Oh, my gosh.
That was, what a great story. Thank you so much for being so open to share the challenges, but also, how it just gives everybody the faith that, sometimes things are shit. They just are. But there's always a way forward.
Like I was, I could keep on talking about, the journey 10 years ago. There were awful thoughts that, all those horrible, dark, negative thoughts as, do I just end this? Do I make everyone's life easier by not being here? And as I said, and when I got to that point, that's where it was, all right, you need to go and speak to somebody, third party. But again, another story for another time. And thank you so much for having me.
That's my absolute pleasure. Thanks so much.
No worries. See you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Courageous Conversations, with thanks to connectnow.com.au. Don't forget to get access to all of Elite Agency's premium resources, including a detailed episode guide for this podcast. Visit joineliteagent.com.